What's up, beautiful people? I welcome you to this channel. It's called Blazing Spells, and today I present another episode of Deck Tech. To be precise on this one, Commander Deck Tech, because I want to present to you this new commander of mine, Master, the Transcendent, or in German, der Meister, der neue Gott, and it translates into the Master, the new God, and that's who he is. He's the God of Mill. I built a Mill theme around this really cool dude, and I want to present it to you today. So, first of all, on the left side, we got our mana producing section right here. From there on, we got the spicy stuff right here. That's Mill, this section here. Then we got some combo stuff and some abusement of graveyards and stuff like this. Good old Tiver, a trusty toolbox right here. That's our card draw right there. A couple of tutors, a couple of counter spells, and some spicy artifacts right at the end. So let's talk about each and every card real quick. What it does, why I put it in there. The Lighted Halfling, not much to say, new edition from Lord of the Rings, produces colorless mana or mana of any color, but only to cast legendary spells that can be countered. That's really huge. We want our commander out on the battlefield and we won't get it countered with this creature. Well then, we got a real classic right here, Birds of Paradise, together with Kinnan. And some Freed from the Real, that's infinite mana, and I tell you later on why we want infinite mana with this creature right here. Not only this creature, we take any kind of infinite mana, right? So, next one up, Deathrite Shaman. That's a spicy one in this deck, because you can tap it to exile a land for mana, exile instant or sorcery card for life loss, or exile creature card for life gain yourself. So you get a bunch of value out of this. Next one up, it's Bloom Tender. Tap for each color among permanents you control, right? With our commander out, it's 3 mana. With Freed from the Real, it's infinite. And with Kinnan, it's 4 mana, which is still kind of nice and spicy for a tapped creature, so that's a really cool one. We definitely need this in our deck. And here he is, the enabler of infinite mana, Kinder. Whenever you tap an online permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. And with like Birds of Paradise, it taps for 2 mana, let's say 2 blue mana, Freed from the Real. I untap it for 1 blue, got 1 blue pending, I can tap it still, and bam, we got infinite mana right there. Then we've got a couple of ramp spells and land drop enablers like free wizards. So search your library for forest card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. It comes into play untapped. That's huge, and I tell you why we want that land drop in a minute. So Nature's Lore does exactly the same thing, not much to say here. Next one up, Kodama's Reach. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, 1 onto the battlefield tapped, 1 into your old paw, so we get even next turn another land drop. That's kind of cool, that's what we want, really. Alright, so Cultivate, again, as Kodama's Reach, does exactly the same thing. Now we got a bit of spice. That's a Jeweled Lotus right here with this insane artifact. Our commander is pretty guaranteed on turn 2, so yeah, definitely want to put this into your deck if you've got one. Next one up, it's Soul Ring. Taps for 2 mana. What's there to say? Broken. Next broken card, Arcane Signet. Just enjoy the artwork, really. Not much to say here. Broken again. Another mana stone right here, Felver Stone. I think it's a cool one. You always got someone at the table who plays one of your colors, right? And then that's the real spice, Basalt Monolith. So this one doesn't untap during your untap step. It taps for 3 mana, but you can untap it for 3 as well. And with Kinnan, right, it's 4 mana on tap, you untap it for free, you got 1 in your pool, and that's an infinite loop right there. On the next tap, infinite mana. Now, let's get to the real spice, the mill stuff, right? That's why we're here, Ruin Crab. On landfall, and that's why we want landfall, each opponent mills free card, right? Each opponent. For 1 drop, that's a really cool text box. Yeah, he does a bunch of stuff for us. It's constant mill on landfall, so that's a cool card. And now you will see why power creep is a real thing in Magic, right? This guy also got a landfall trigger, but on landfall, only one opponent mills 3 cards, and it's just an O2 in addition. So here you go, power creep. And now, here he comes, Bruvak, the good old master of mill, right? If an opponent would mill 1 or more cards, they mill twice that many cards instead. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And next, it's good old Zelix Sanity Flare. So whenever an opponent mills 1 or more creature cards, we create a 1/1 Black Hawk creature token. So we get a bit of protection right there till we get our strategies running and stuff. And then again, for 1 and tap, target player mills 3 cards. So he enables mill instant speed right here. That's kind of huge as well, because we can mill opponents on their turns, tap our commander to get creatures. Really nice. Now that's more of a janky card right here, Nemesis of Reason. Whenever this dude attacks, defending player mills 10 cards. Pretty straightforward. I know it's not too powerful, but it fits the theme really well, and yeah, more of a placeholder, really. Here comes Phoenix, God of Deception, indestructible. As long as your devotion to blue and black is less than 7, Phoenix isn't a creature, right? But the spicy part is creatures you control have target player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is this creature's toughness. And we're playing the Aberration, I will show you later. And with this card and even the crabs becoming spicy tap mill 3, tap mill 2 creatures. So he's a really cool addition to this deck. Here it is, the infamous Aberration. Because power and toughness of this creature are each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard. So it's real quick as 60-60, right? And whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from top of their library until they reveal a land card. Then put those cards into the graveyard. I know that's not mill, really, because it doesn't say mill, it's pseudo mill, but it still helps us to diminish our opponent's libraries. So that's important for us. And now I'll show you one of the reasons why we want this infinite mana. Sir Conrad the Grim, right? We can outlet our infinite mana in this ability. Each player mills a card. With infinite mana, it's just GG. Second ability, this one on top, isn't too shabby either. Each time our opponents mill creature cards, they lose life. Well, or Sir Conrad shoots damage into their faces. So that's a really cool ability as well. Not too shabby at all. And the last one, that's why we're actually playing this card, right? So Sir Conrad. Then, for the mill stuff, Mesmeric Orb. Alright, watch out, this is a double-edged sword, right? Because whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's controller mills a card. This includes ourselves, right? So, it kind of mills ourselves as well, but it's way too powerful. It activates our commander on our opponent's turns, so we can get creatures out their graveyards. That's a powerful card, definitely auto include. Oh yeah, with Bruvak, this maddening cacophony with kicker paid is just GG, because each opponent mills half of their library rounded up instead if we pay kicker. So Bruvak out there, it's the whole library. GG. Now before we get to the last mill and pseudo mill spells, I want to show you another side of the stack. It's the more combo orientated one. And creatures like Doughty Voidwalker or Leyline of the Void with this ability here, if a card would be put into opponent's graveyard from anywhere, instead exile it, right? So exile graveyards, this theme gets important for us because I've got another spicy card in my deck which can solve a lot of problems if people tend to abuse their own graveyards or anything like that. Because if we can't abuse their graveyards, no one can, right? Next card, just in case we have to mill ourselves. It's not Thessa's Oracle, it's just Laboratory Maniac. So if we would draw a card while we have no cards in it, we just win the game instead. That's just a safety net really, just in case we get to mill ourselves with Mesmeric Orb or something like that. Next up, gorgeous artwork of Eternal Witness right here. What it does, or what she does, is she gets our cards back from our graveyard. So if important pieces of us gets destroyed or if we mill stuff by accident, that's the way. So now one of the spicy combos explained. That's the Mist Hollow Griffin. Well, this card can be cast from exile. And Food Chain says exile a creature you control at X mana of any color, where X is 1 plus exiled creature's mana value. Spend it only to cast creature spells. And yeah, you can cast Mist Hollow Griffin from exile. So this means infinite mana for creature casts right there, right? You casting Mist Hollow Griffin, sacrificing it right into this Food Chain, casting your commander, sacrificing your commander also into this Food Chain, casting Mist Hollow Griffin again, commander again, and every opponent gets infinite red counters. So they get one upkeep and a bit of a main phase to save themselves, and then it's GG. Another way too powerful card right here, Seedborn Muse. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. Huge! This means we can untap our commander on each opponent's turn and get another creature out of the graveyards, well, possibly, right? So that's a really cool card. It also untaps our lands, so we got fresh mana for counter spells open. Really cool. And now for the graveyard shenanigans. Scarab God. First ability, not too important for us. We are no zombie deck, but second one is. For 4 mana, exile target creature card from a graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it. Except it's a 4/4 black zombie. Well, you know what it means. Yeah, right here. And it also got a bit of recursion. So if it dies, it comes back. That's always sweet. Yeah. Now, an enchantment from Wilds of Eldraine, Virtue of Persistence. First ability says at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, right? So all the cards milled, we get the creatures out there. And well, second ability isn't too shabby either right here. A target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn, you gain 2 life. That's also sweet, a bit of creature removal. Now the big one, Rise of the Dark Realms. This one lets you put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. So with measly 9 mana, you just overrun your opponents. Yeah, that's a pretty nice card. We definitely want to play this. So next one up, Tiver. I know it's German, but I will tell you. The first 2 abilities are important for us. So creatures can be tapped as though they have haste as soon as they enter the battlefield, right, for their abilities. Mana Dogs, our commander. And second one, +1 untap a creature of your choice, target creature of your choice. So that's really cool. We can use our commander a second time a turn, or tap our mana dogs for another mana. Really cool card. Let's get back to the last pseudo or mill spells and also the reason why we want infinite mana. So each opponent reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals X land cards, then puts all cards revealed this way into his or her library. X can be 0. And with infinite mana, it's infinite lands into his or her library, and I don't think any opponent plays infinite lands in their decks. So that's why there's an X, that's why we want infinite mana, that's why we're playing this card. Really cool secondary win con. But please remember, that's not real mill, right? Opponents don't get to mill cards with this spell. Just as with this one, Malcolm's Mercurial Mirth, aka Tasha's Hideous Laughter. So each opponent exiles cards from top of their library until that player has exiled cards with total mana value of 20 or more, right? So that's not actual mill as well, but we want to diminish our opponent's libraries, make them small, to get an advantage over them for cards like Sir Conrad the Grim or something like that. Now for some real mill as well. When Teferi's tutelage enters the battlefield, draw a card, discard a card, and whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. That's sweet. With cards like Rhystic Studies out there or something like this, you kinda get a draw cards and mill your opponent so you can activate your commander in their turn. That's a nice one. Take it. And next one, let me put this one first because it's similar to the one before that. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards, right? But if they're both the milled cards, non-land cards that share a color, repeat this process. So monocolored decks hate us. And for 6 mana, we draw a card, then discard a card, a nice infinite mana outlet as well. So really cool card. Lets us spend our infinite mana right into this ability. Lets us mill with this ability each opponent out. So that's a spicy one. Definitely putting it into our deck. But now Psychic Corrosion. If you ask yourself, why is this dude playing so many Russian cards? It's simply because I can read the language and I buy whichever I get cheapest most of the time. So whenever I draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. That's a really cool one, hits every opponent. Definitely wanna play this. This one, it's more of a placeholder really, right? Because it's really hard to find cards that let each opponent mill, but this one does, and it mills 14 cards. You can cycle it as well, then each opponent mills 4 cards, not too shabby, but you want to mill everyone for 14 really. Most probably I'll replace it later, but I think it's fine for now, right? This one won't be replaced though. Breach the Multiverse. Each player mills 10 cards, then for each player we choose a creature or planeswalker card and put it onto the battlefield under our control, right? They also become Phyrexian if that matters for any reason, but yeah, cool card from Mom, really dig it, cool text box right here, bunch of value, just have to play. And then we got Blood Chief Ascension. I really love this one. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you may put a quest counter on Blood Chief Ascension, and with 3 quest counters it's activated, and then whenever opponent puts a card from anywhere, from their library, right, into their graveyard, they lose 2 life and we gain 2 life. This one goes infinite with Mindcrank as well. I don't got Mindcrank right now, so I'm just playing Blood Chief's Ascension, but still it's so powerful on its own as well. Really dig this card. Way too undervalued, way too underestimated in my opinion. Auto include for us. I just dig it. And just check out the edged foiling. Dig it, dig it. And now a pseudo combo piece for us, Intruder Alarm. It synergizes so well with our commander, and what it does is creatures don't untap during their controller's untap steps, but whenever a creature enters the battlefield, untap all creatures. And when we mill our opponents, right, we can tap, get a creature out of the library, graveyard, pardon me, then we untap all our creatures, including our commander, and we just do it again. So we get a bunch of creatures out there. I already talked about this card, Freed from the Real. So, pay blue, tap enchanted creature, pay blue, untap enchanted creature, and as I told you, with Kinnan out there, and this one enchanted on our Birds of Paradise, for example, it's just infinite mana, because Birds of Paradise produce 2 mana, we untap for blue, can do it again. And now, Leyline of the Void. So, this enchantment says you may start the game with it on the battlefield if you got it in your opening hand, but the most important thing is if a card would be put in an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, we exile it instead. Now you think, this doesn't seem to synergize very well with your commander or with Rise of the Dark Realms. True, but if an opponent can abuse graveyards more than we do, we got the following spicy piece. Helm of Obedience. Well, this artifact taps for X and itself, and then we put the top card of target opponent's library into his or her graveyard. We continue doing this until we have put X cards or a creature card into that graveyard, whichever occurs first. But if opponent doesn't have any graveyard, well, because it gets exiled, well, that's GG, right? We're continuing doing this until they mill their whole library. So, spice right up. Now, let's dive to the toolbox. First of all, just a brainstorm. Sometimes we want to dig a bit deeper into our library, maybe finding a combo piece or some removal or anything like this. And if we have to mill, like with Mesmeric Orb, we can manipulate the top of our library so we can get rid of cards we don't like and just keep the stuff we need to win the games. Yeah, that's why we're playing this card. So, next one up, a bit of creature removal for 1 blue mana, destroy target creature. It can be regenerated. Its controller creates a free green ape creature token. So, that's super cheap creature removal right here in blue. We definitely take it. Next one up, rapid hybridization. Just the same thing, but creature's controller creates a free green frog lizard creature token. But if we have to exile stuff, we got Tear Asunder. Exiles target artifact or enchantment. Unless we kick it, then exiles target non-land permanent instead. So that's a really cool card. New edition, right, from Dominaria Unite. Regrowth. It's actually just Eternal Witness, but not on a stick. It's the spell for Eternal Witness, sorcery speed. Gets us our combo pieces, removal spells, whatever, back into our hand. And if we need some mass removal, we got Toxic Deluge here. As an additional cost to cast the spell, we pay X life and then all creatures get -X until end of turn. You can also play some Damnation or I don't know, I just like it. Now for the card draw, Mystic Remora. Well, I mean, it's more of CDH card, but my commander table likes to play its non-creature spells, so I think I'll put it in there. Draws me a bunch of cards. And now the infamous Rhystic Study. People hate this card. It's not card draw per se, it's more stacks, but because people tend to get greedy, you get to draw a bunch of cards. So for us, it's card draw. Really like it. There's not much to say. It's way too powerful in Commander. Here we go. One card I got a soft spot in my heart, Phyrexian Arena. Read it yourself, right? Nah, just kidding, guys. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to draw another card and you lose 1 life. So it lets you draw 2 cards at the beginning of your upkeep. I think it's a really cool enchantment for measly 3 mana. You can play it in every black deck, in my opinion. Let's get to the toots. Let's take the whole bunch of toots. So this one lets you search a creature on top of your library. This one lets you search instant or sorcery on top of your library. And this one searches you any card right into your old paw. So what's there else to say? Some good old toots. And here's our counter package. Pact of Negation. You can play it for 0, right? And as soon as you can afford the 5 mana and your next upkeep, you're safe to play this card. Really cool card. No one's expecting it. Oh, well, some people do, but yeah. Next one up, I really love it. And this is such a great artwork. An offer you can't refuse, right? Counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens, but for a measly blue mana. 1 blue, right? Counter target non-creature spell. And a stifle. Dude, that's just to tell you the truth. I love to see people faces if you counter target activated or triggered ability. Kinda makes funny situations. Really love this one. I know it's more of CDH card, but still also in high power or commander play, it's kinda cool. Drawn in the Lock tells you choose one. Counter target spell with mana value less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard, or destroy target creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. And as you can imagine, yeah, our opponent's got a bunch of cards in the graveyard, so we can counter and destroy a bunch of things with this card. Really like it. It fits this deck. It fits the theme. And now, counter spell. Counter target spell. So, end days, right? You may return an island to your hand rather than paying its mana cost, and it counters target spell unless its controller pays 1, and if you're sitting there out tapped and you maybe even already played your Pact of Negation, no one sees this one coming, right? It just hits them, they can pay 1 more, and it again makes a funny situation at the table, at least for me, right? And last 2-1 Lightning Reefs. We want to protect our commander and we want to tap it as soon as it enters the battlefield. So we definitely playing this ones, right? And now something you maybe don't expect, it's Conduit of the World. It says you may play land cards from your library and you may tap it. Choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast this card. If you have done so, you are not able to cast another spell. But and it's a sorcery speed, but it's so cool. If you mill yourself, you can just get your lands out of your graveyard and you can play spells if your hand is empty. That's a really nice addition in my honest opinion. And that's it for today. I thank you for staying with me, for looking at my deck. If you want to see my mana base or want to tell me anything like critique, improvements, whatever's on your heart, please do so in the comments below. And if not, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. So all the love out. Bye. Peace.